You want the whole screen, or do you
Yeah,
just want?
the whole screen.
That's how we usually have it.
That's who's there.
Thank you. Mike? We got, Meg's coming through okay. Mike, you're unmuted. Mike, you there? I see you're unmuted.
Hello?
Okay,
There you go, Mike.
all right, we ready? Call to order
I
the
can't hear anybody.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, yes.
Talk, I got in the phone.
Meg, you still okay? You hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear and see you.
How are you, Mike?
So there's gotta be a setting on your computer, Mike, that.
You can't hear us on his phone. Tell him to get
No,
out.
he's on a laptop.
Oh, he is?
Confirm that. Confirm that. I'm gonna grab his back for 1 second, guys, while I text him.
Patty's texting right now.
Oh, you got him? All right, good. Thank you, Patty.
That's why it's green, that's all green.
He's texted me saying, you can get it started, I'll learn how to turn the volume.
All right, good. Okay, we're gonna call to the meeting, the Board of Finance at 6:34, we're a little late. Mike CR.
Recording in progress.
Okay, 6:34, starting a little late. Mike CRC is here via Zoom. Norm Uyghur, Dan Flanagan, Lucinda Van Giesen, Lori Quagliaroli, Patty Murphy, and Mark Winton. If there's any votes, he'll be voting for Khan, who is not here. Okay, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public input. And again, it's only 3 minutes per person. Go ahead, sir. State your name and address.
Kevin Knapp, 6 West Street, Windsor Locks. So mine is more of a comment. I brought up to the Board of Finance, Jason Lathrop's history. The Board of Finance hasn't done anything about it. In every town he's ever worked at, he's been implicated in basically taking money from the town that he works for. He was suspended, let go, all kinds of different things, and he's in charge of $61 million of ours. In 2023, we were nearly $3 million over budget. In 2024, nobody knows what's going on because we're in a full audit that he says every 2 weeks is gonna be done. So the town is gonna get 30% assessed to their houses to cover for Jason's ineptness. So the Board of Finance is either complicit or just ignorant. So one of those two things are what happened. People have been paid for 3 years and nobody knows who's responsible for that. Where's the accountability there? Who is the one that's supposed to oversee the Board of Finance if the first selectman's not doing it? Why is the Board of Finance not overseeing the police department that's been over budget every single year that doesn't report anything to the public in the annual report? So, as the second highest budget in town, we have no idea what they're spending their money on, nor do you, because you guys don't get the reports. So where's the accountability and the standards in Windsor Locks at any any single level. And then you guys are posting the minutes that aren't accurate. There's a reason why you record this. If I talk for 6 minutes and you put 10 words there, how is that giving equal access to the public that can't be here? Under Title II, under the ADA. And then you have people telling me, oh, Kevin, you're gonna sue the town, how's that great for taxpayers? Well, maybe if I sue the shit out of this town, you guys will learn a lesson. Because this isn't the first time the town's been sued, and it isn't the first time that the town's been corrupt. So I'm telling you, June 13th is coming fast, the CHRO complaint is gonna be here, and the people that are involved, whether it's just the fact that they're ignorant, don't pay attention, or whatever, this town is going to be screwed because of Jason. Somebody is gonna roll for his responsibility in terms of vetting him. He's supposed to be, he's the interim finance manager for a reason, right? What is that reason? Why is his name not listed on the website? Why do you guys still have the old employees listed on the website? Is that transparent? How do we contact these people? Their email's not listed, their title's not listed, their name's not even listed on the website. So in transparency, in 2024, they said that the Board of Finance spent 20 million online. That's not true, because it says there was 60 million allotted. But there's no transparency here, and I'm telling you, it's gonna be really easy to figure out. Everything by itself doesn't look too bad, but when you put it all together with years of the same Mike Hannaford and you guys here and Scott Storms and Jason Lathrop, there's a reason why he was hired. And it's all gonna come to light, and I brought it to every single person here, QR codes, and nobody did anything. So, I'm gonna list all your names in the lawsuit.
Any other further public comment?
Yeah,
Online?
Lori?
Oh, yeah.
Hi, yep. Kurt Brace, Elm Street. A copy of this for whoever, the recording secretary. Yeah, thank you very much. So, I just wanna say that, you know.
Lawrence, let me give my copy to Lawrence.
Oh, here, well, I have an extra one too, so. I just wanna say, first of all, that I know most of the people that are sitting on this board, and I wanna thank you, because you're giving your time and your energy to try to look out what's best for the town. So I appreciate your time that you're giving me today. I think you'll find my comments to be very germane to the topic, because I am, although passionate, I'm really struggling to speak in a way that people will hear, and hopefully this is it. So, my name's Kurt Brace. I'm here as a concerned resident of Windsor Locks, not just for myself, but on behalf of many homeowners in this town who are struggling. They're struggling to understand how we got here and what options we have. This year's property reevaluation created a massive shift in our local tax burden. The average residential property was reassessed nearly at 70% higher, while many commercial properties saw increases closer to 20%. As a result, the average homeowner is facing a 30% jump in their taxes, while businesses, in many cases, are paying less than last year. We all understand the need for reevaluations, but this isn't just an update. It shook the very system. It's putting real people at risk. Seniors, young families, longtime residents. We're not asking for a break. We're asking for fairness. And Connecticut law gives us a tool that can create that fairness. It's called phase-in. A phase-in doesn't lower the town's budget. It doesn't require cuts. It simply allows us to spread the tax increase gradually over the next few years, instead of just dumping the full burden on homeowners all at once. The budget remains intact. The pain is just distributed more evenly and more responsibly. Many other towns in Connecticut have used this tool, and they did it not because they have to, but because it was the right thing to do. If we stay on this path, we risk fueling a wave of economic gentrification, which is a big word for me, but you know, I did look into it, and the warning signs are already here. Longtime residents are feeling a squeeze. It's only a matter of time before some are forced to make difficult decisions about whether they can afford to stay in this town. Meanwhile, we have large landlords and corporate property owners are often in a better position to absorb these changes. We have a chance now to prevent this from becoming a crisis and to protect the character and stability of our community. I want to be clear, I don't believe the Board of Finance is acting with any bad intention whatsoever. I do believe you may not be getting the right advice. And I also believe that many residents are just simply unaware that phase-in is even an option for them. Let's do this right, let's protect our residents, let's phase it in. And I would add that no voice is more important than any other voice at the table here. Whether you volunteer for the town, whether you just moved here, whether you're 18 or 80, or if you go to every meeting in town or you don't. One vote is one vote, one vote is one voice, and it's important that everybody try to get involved. Let's include everyone. Thank you.
All right, are you okay with me forwarding this to Meg to have her attach it to the minutes?
That's perfect, thank you.
Okay. Any other public input? Come on up, Doug, state your name and address for the. Okay.
Douglas Glazier, 167 Taft Lane. I've been on the Board of Finance for 15 years, or chairman for 3 years. I know what you're going through. And also, there were 6 referendums in 1998. I was part of that. I was first selectman at that time. And I want to make, well, first of all, I'm going to make a comment about phasing in over a period of years. I don't believe in doing that. You know, people that want phase-in, they don't realize that you have to cut some needs out of the budget. You can't keep everything in your budget and yet go to phase-in, because phase-in means proportionate payments year after year. So I'm against that. But what you can do, and what's allowed in the town charter, is special tax assessments on business properties, commercial properties, residential properties, homeowners properties, and so forth. You can do that. It's in the town charter. So my suggestion, because of the lopsidedness in paying taxes, is way high on the residential part, way low normally on the commercial part. So my advice is, or suggestion is, a tax assessment, make a tax assessment on all businesses in town. Now, they're gonna yell like hell because of it, I know, but their taxes are exceptionally lower in a year where the residential taxes are exceptionally higher. You can make a special assessment on that, and with that amount of funds, you can reduce the amount of taxes needed and paid for by the residents of Windsor Locks. So the widespread between commercial here and residents here, you could shrink that. You don't have to shrink it all, but it could be shrunk by a special assessment on the commercial businesses and a reduction on residential. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anyone online? You can just raise your hand and we'll unmute you. Okay. So the correspondence that we received, I forwarded out to you. One was a letter from Deb Sands. I've already sent that to Meg, the recording secretary, to have her attach that to the minutes of tonight. So I need, next thing is approval of the previous minutes. Did everybody read them, and would somebody give me a motion? It was for, I should put that on there. Did you put 15th maybe? No, what are we in May? 5/13? Yeah.
13, yeah. minutes from 5:13.
Mark makes the first, do I have a second?
Second.
Patty, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I wasn't here.
Dan abstains, was not here. Okay, an added agenda item, Patty.
Yes, I'd like to add, Peter, I don't wanna butcher your name here, Jazinski to the agenda before number 6. Peter is the tax collector and he needs to do his annual discussion of suspense accounts.
Okay.
Could I also say in old business, could we add L to discuss those transfers that, we talked about, Jason wasn't here last time, those transfers for the Noden Reed air conditioning and heating?
Sure. Patty made a first, do I have a second? Second. Lisa the second, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, unanimous. You can come up, Pete.
No, he just texted, says he can hear, so it's not a delay, he's live.
Will you send a copy of that to Meg?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't, but it's just a copy for the
Peter,
details.
is this my Zoom copy? Or is
Well,
this-
they usually share I did email
Is this a group or these just?
they're grouped, yeah, they're stapled, so they're grouped by type.
Each person's gonna get a tax.
No, you're gonna share, but there was an email.
I sent
Well,
out
I
an
got the
email.
email. I got the email with it. Thank you.
Well, you can see we're handing out the suspense list, which was emailed out, so I'm not sure if you have access to that on your laptop. Thanks.
Anybody else want one?
Just let me know when you guys are ready.
You can go, Peter.
Okay. Peter Jazinski, tax collector. So each year, each municipality is required to maintain what's called a suspense book under statute 12-165. And essentially what it does is it moves accounts, that are uncollected or in doubtful collections, and they move them to what they call the suspense book. So that's moved, like I said, each year you're required to at least move one account per year to that book. The prior practice of the town has been always to move the 3 years back, so this year it's the 2021 grand list. So anything uncollected in those years gets moved to the suspense list, other than real estate. This year we don't have any real estate to suspend. But we will move personal property and motor vehicles to that list. So essentially what it is for any of you that, I'm sure a lot of you remember, you're moving essentially these accounts to a different part of the town. They're still collectible, they do not get wiped away or anything like that. They're just moved from an active asset of the town to like an uncollectible type of designation within the town. Again, they're still collectible. The thought process is that these have now been out there for a couple of years. They become harder and harder to collect, so they shouldn't really represent an active collection because they're more doubtful at this time. But as I said, just keep in mind, we are still actively collecting these. In fact, this year we've collected about 25,000 of all the past suspense that we've had. So It is just a simple accounting maneuver that we use to move over to the, from active to basically, a doubtful accounts. It's a financial, change that's required by state law.
Anybody have any questions? Make a motion.
Yeah, so we would need a motion to move that amount into the suspense.
So just a motion for the total amount, Pete?
Yeah,
This total amount here?
yeah. So we'll, once the motion is, I mean, I can, do you want me to go through each category or things?
Oh, sure, I think the audience should be educated, sure.
Thank you.
So so for the 2021 grand list, the amount for business personal property, the total we're asking to transfer is $18,163.06. Motor vehicle, regular motor vehicle, $72,763.51. And motor vehicle supplemental, would be $18,189.39. And then, so the total recommended for suspense would be, $109,115.96.
You can suspend? Is that what you said?
Okay. And we're just,
That's still good now.
without
So-
understanding.
Moving it into the account if we get it. If we
Yeah.
don't get it, oh
Okay.
well.
We're in a public comment was at the beginning and public comment is at the end. No public comment during the
Well, you
meeting.
just asked him to help us.
Well, you can
and we're
ask
still
him
not
later.
Understanding.
You can go see him after the meeting, you can see us after the meeting, you just can't do it during the public meeting, okay? You guys gotta come more often, more often, more often. Okay, so does somebody wanna make a motion?
Mike, do you have any questions? You're still on mute.
No, I'm all set.
Okay, I'll make a motion to move 109,115.96 to suspense for the tax department.
Patty makes,
Enough of a motion, Peter?
Patty makes the first, do we have a second? Dan seconds, any other discussion from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye. So that's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Pete.
Okay.
So Peter,
Yes.
just to clarify, that was 109,000, but if I'm not mistaken, it looks like here, you collected over $5 million in business personal property. And isn't business personal property over and above what we see for what the businesses are paying for real estate?
Correct, yeah. Business personal property is, so each year, on November 1st, businesses have to file what they call a declaration with the assessor's office, which accounts for equipment, fixtures, furniture, things like that. And that's all assessed through the assessor's department, and then a bill is generated for that. So if a business owns real estate, they would have a real estate bill, and then they would also have what they call business personal property, which is the equipment that they use or things they use as part of their business.
Thank you. Any other questions for Peter? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Pete. Finance update. Where do we stand on the medical insurance?
So we'll start with medical insurance then?
Yeah, I want to start there.
So we have completed, end of this week, we'll have completed open enrollment. It looks like we're up 5 employees, at least on the town side. I have not heard on the Board of Education side. Employees do not have to drop during open enrollment. Generally, they would notify us if they were changing. So we had 1 drop that we know of. So that's, given we have about 80 employees, it's not too huge of a change. So I guess that's good. You know, we got our census request from from Anthem to be able to upload, employees, so we can get cards out to them, starting at the end of next week, which generally takes a week for them to be able to get cards out, so it's a very tight timeline. USI, who's currently under contract, with us through, Anthem, is doing it as part of their roles and responsibilities to help close out the, fiscal, you know, the fiscal year, and from a self-insurance standpoint. They have given us a proposal to continue on as a consultant for the dental self-insurance, which we will continue at least through next year. We received no update, from, AJG, Arthur Gallagher, who is our representative, who handles the reinsurance, for our self-insurance fund, beyond what was reported at the last meeting. So right now, we don't see any big change there. Whereas last year, we were $2.2 million, over budget in, the account. That right now, we're not forecasting that based upon the information from USI, Chris Monroe, and from, Gallagher.
Okay.
So, good news there. From a software standpoint, and I'll double back to the audit question.
Yeah.
From a software standpoint, our, what do you call it, our implementation coordinator has taken leave of absence and, has, transferred us over to somebody else with a recommendation that, and really, we haven't spoken with her for a month because she's been out, and she's finally out, like officially out. We wish her the best, but she said to the new guy coming in that we should consider delaying, our implementation. I agreed to a 1-week delay from the beginning of July to the first week of July, which I think we can absorb. Anything beyond that would be a change.
Would be what?
Would be a change. So we wish her well. I've emailed our accounting, or our new account representative, to give us an update, and I did not hear back from him today. She emailed us on Friday afternoon. So that's not great.
So how far along are we on this upgrade before all this started happening a month ago? I mean, are we 50% done with it? Are we 75%?
From a training standpoint, we're probably 70% done. From an account standpoint, we have uploaded our chart of accounts, and they need that signed off on before they can, there's a certification process that they follow. They generally want between 4 and 6 weeks lead time to be able to complete the conversions. So we're on the edge of that window. So not a good place to be, but it's where we are right now.
Can we go back to the old system?
Can we go back? No, the old system is perfectly intact, there's nothing.
And we'll stay with the old system, fire these people, get our money back, and worry about it next year. Because they violated the contract by not supporting you for a month.
Wasn't this gonna be done in February? That was when it was gonna start. Wasn't it gonna be done like in no time at all? Sorry, but I'm the only one that voted against this thing. And it's very disheartening to see how far behind we are on this. And the time it takes away from doing other stuff that should be done.
I echo those comments. It's an inordinate amount of time that we're spending on this, and to get that news Friday afternoon, that our coordinator is out for the balance of the time, we've been handed off to somebody else. We've got training for the balance of the month set up, so even that's been put into sort of limbo. So until we hear from the new.
How much have we got in it already invested in it?
From a building standpoint, probably 35,000, 100,000. The balance of it was tail end loaded regarding go live and support that people would be doing the last week of June. There's also conversion pieces of this. You know, I don't think all is lost, but it has come onto my radar screen as something that's very concerning.
So when did you say June, the 1st of July or the end of
So
July?
they asked to delay it, and by delay, response to that was, that doesn't make any sense. So my response was, hey, you know, let's delay it a week to 7/7, which would be the first full week of July. A lot of people take vacation that first week of July. So,
Have you brought this up to the board of selectmen?
I spoke to Scott. I literally just got it, this morning in the email, where one of my employees was CC'd on the email, said, did you get this email? And I mentioned it to Scott today. So my guess it would be an agenda item on the next, it would be on Tuesday, and then, hopefully we hear back from them on Tuesday, or before Tuesday, I should say.
Well, you said the person was out for a month before it became official. That they were gonna be out. So this person has not been doing anything for a month.
Yes.
So we didn't just find out about it.
We have
I would think that would have been troubling
we
if
have
the
had-
person that you're connected with hasn't been there for a month.
Well, who's, you're not the one, who's the liaison between them? It's not you.
Yeah.
Oh, it is you.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's myself and Claire.
Oh, all right.
We have had an interim, but she has been responding to emails with the interim here. She said, she gave the email that said she's taking leave of absence. And we wish her well. She was very helpful. But
Well, we had that to an agenda item,
Yeah, I'm working on it now.
thank you. On how we can get our $30,000.
I mean, how do we let it happen? How do we let it happen, get to this point?
I don't care how it happened, give us our money back and let's just exit, because it's not a reputable company, as far as I'm concerned.
it is a highly reputable company.
Well, obviously, if there was, they wouldn't let a 30-day lap go in the service.
Yes.
Okay, I worked on a service-based contract, we would never do that if we were a reputable company. So, now, I really don't wanna talk about it anymore until we get something from the selectmen, because I may say something bad.
All right. Put it on for the 10th.
Thank you.
All right, our next topic.
So, I view it as very positive news that we're +2 bank reconciliations of the 5, neither of which can be sent to the auditor out of the gate, but 2 of the 5 are done. The balance of them will be completed this week. They have to be, period. So we have had requests for, related items from related department members. So there was a request that went to the assessor regarding, exceptions to the grand list, which was an M-series report that was requested. That request went to John, that I believe went back to Mike directly. Mike also requested a separate report for, well, he has the information, regarding our WPCA on a report. He wants it on a clean report, so we have to get him that. So right now, what's holding us up is bank recs. We had a great week last week in completing them, and the balance of them will be completed this week. There's nothing else that I have on my list other than that.
Mike Ciarcia, the last meeting we had, Jason wasn't here. Do you want to address, well, because you were gonna bring up an email that you had sent to the audit company? And we just decided we would just wait until now?
Yeah, so Lori, I believe what you're referencing was, it was probably 1 to 2 weeks ago. I did have an email correspondence with our auditor, listed out, basically, for the most part, it was the same 5 or 6 open items. Now, to be fair, that was about, I would say, somewhere between 1 and 2 weeks ago. So if Jason is saying that the only open items are 3 of the 5 bank reconciliations, and there's nothing else related to, variance analysis questions, investment questions, carving out the WPCA as an enterprise fund, and whatever else was on that list, then I guess that's good news. Again, it has been, I don't know, somewhere between 7 to 14 days since I last had an email with the auditor.
Yep, but Mike, the last thing that the auditor asked for was just a fixed asset piece on a separate report. He has the WPC assets, additions, subtractions, he just wanted on a clean report. That was the last request.
And he has that.
He has not, that's one outstanding request that he made last week.
That will be done this week.
Yes. They have the information already, he just wants it on a report by itself.
And so there's the 3 of the 5 remaining. How long have they been outstanding, the bank recs?
Since I started here,
So they're gonna get those this week or next week?
this week.
This week?
It
And then,
can't not be this week.
again, not to be flip, we've been saying 10 days, it's gotta be 10 days for a long time. So it could not be this week, something could happen. But hopefully it will be. And then, how long does it take them from that point to do what they need to do? If they have no questions or.
I would defer to them, but they have been asking questions all along, meaning that, they haven't stopped doing stuff in the background, from that standpoint. Like, for example, Mike brought up the investment notes. On page 39 of the audit, there was an investment note regarding a risk analysis of our investments that they had requested, like, a documentation that we had not seen in prior audit requests. So we went and did that, which was a, significant amount of time to be able to do that. So when he mentions that from a couple of weeks ago, that was old news, we had already done that. So they've got a draft of the CIFA schedule that was presented them, which is in the same format as our existing, like the big ones were the CIFA schedule, the WPCA carve out, and then the bank recs. Those were the big ones that were outstanding. They received the CIFA schedule a month ago. They had questions about it that were responded to. The Board of Education also sent them some information, and it was in the same format that's in our financial statements, meaning like we sent them the page of the report that sits in our single federal audit, those schedules. My assumption is they have the ability to be able to test those balances by going into the trial balance to be able to do that, but I would expect some more questions regarding that from Mike. But the bank reconciliation is the one, I don't wanna say it's the most troubling of the things that's what's gonna trip them up the most. So they pointed out some things, said, hey, in order to do this right, we need these, and they're not going to spend time on this testing until they receive them, period, the way it is.
Do you have a general sense at all of if they start their testing the beginning of next week on those?
I can ask Mike.
Yeah, would you, just because I want to get an idea of when do we expect this audit to be done?
3 months ago.
Well, yes, that's absolutely true, Dan.
6 months ago.
Yeah, so if they get it, what's their vision for how long it should take them? I mean, they've done enough of these, they should know.
And it's not like they haven't had the financials, they already have all the documents downloaded and programmed into the financial statements, they're just waiting for the final trial balance.
Yep.
And right now, their last trial balance they received, they said, hey, no bank recs, it's not worth putting the financial statements out in draft form.
Okay, yeah, so if they could give you an idea of that, that would be great.
So in addition to getting caught up on it, because I want the board to know that because we were so far behind when you got here, we had to get caught up, and we also had to stay current.
Had to get caught up in what?
Well, in posting.
Because we had an annual report last year, so. that
Well,
has
I'm
to
just
be
talking about.
On that date.
Yeah, I get that. But when you have, it was running behind, we were running behind. So, I just want, we're not gonna be behind at the end of this year, that's what I'm trying to say.
Let's hope not.
And again, there's a foot in each fiscal year, right? There's a foot in the 23-24, there's a foot in the current fiscal year, and there's a foot in the next fiscal year, right? From a budget, there's the budget work that you guys are doing, there's the systems work that everybody in my department is doing. And really right now, the 23-24 sits squarely on my shoulders to be able to do that. There might be some small journal entries here or there, but that's what I'm working on. And as Lauren mentioned, we have been behind in the past. So on one side, that's sort of a hiccup, right? But on the flip side of it, I mean, to your point, Mark, is we've been behind in the past, yet we got last year's audit out on time. So if we were behind there, we got the audit out, what's the difference between current year and last year?
Well, we have a new audit company too.
Well,
And our financial director left, you had to train yourself. Okay.
either, I recognize and I take take it very seriously, the comments that people make regarding getting this stuff out, and on as time as possible, that we are behind. Right? So, you know, in the scope of things, I thought we had a good week last week. I understand you guys, when you take a look at it, if it's not done, it's not acceptable. But I take a look at the progress that we've made as a department, I feel pretty good about it. But I'm gonna take your input and redouble my efforts.
Okay. Mike, you have anything else? I guess not.
No, that's it.
Okay. All right, so transfers, 25-33, from Christopher Laternis, Town Clerk.
It's an $84 transfer, between, wages and professional development. Generally, we don't do transfers out of wages until the end of the fiscal year. From a forecast standpoint, for $84, we're in good stead.
And what's the training for?
It's from training, excuse me,
Software, to
it's the balances account. I think it's training or
So, if I could offer a suggestion, Christopher either has to type this out, cause it's freaking horrible handwriting, or he has to print it better. Something has to happen. Maybe Lexi should write this out, cause girls write better than boys, okay?
I'll be careful.
Well, they do. I know, but,
Did we say we knew what the training was for?
no, he's not, no, he's transferring from training.
No, he's not.
No,
He's
it's
transferring
from
from
salary
salary
to
wages to training.
Oh, must be the
I
right.
think it's already occurred.
What was it?
Let me go take a look at the invoice.
I think I saw Lexi.
While Jason's looking, if I can just ask a quick question. The salary account, can we just be specific, because I don't have the transfers in front of me? Is that like the part-time salary, or what line is that?
Temp replacement.
Yeah, temp,
Thank you.
yeah, I'm loading this up. So I'm pleased that Chris is bringing this to us in May, because last year we were doing these things in September and October.
Excellent, make sure. Didn't throw us out sometimes. Oh.
One sec. So the temp replace line, has a budget of $792, of which $90 has been expended. So there's, you know, 600 and some odd dollars left there even after this transfer. In the, 53200 account, professional development, there is $76 left, so there's one more training that's going on. So it's not something that was overexpended right now, they're trying to transfer money in for obviously one more training.
Should we ask Lexi? She's online.
Let me message her real quick.
She might know.
Just unmute her, she may be able to. She's probably hearing us.
Pardon me? She can't answer the question. Alright, table it.
Table it.
Alright,
We need to table 34 also.
yeah.
Why do we really need the table 34?
Because Anne Marie wanted to be here to discuss it.
Physicals for
Well, if she wanted to be here, let her be here.
No,
It's better than Christopher not being here, we can't answer that question.
I know.
I asked her to table it because Steve and I and, Anne Marie talked about a couple of things. The first off is we had miscoded some revenue to the general fund that belonged to the owner fund. So that was the first question. The second question is she's overexpended in another account regarding an accident that occurred to a bus. And that the revenue for the insurance settlement went to a revenue account and overexpended in an expense account. So, there's a little bit more research to do in that account.
Okay.
A little more research, but that will be back to you, in an effort to try to address department overages in advance. Last year, again, we were handling these questions back in, September, October, and we need to handle them like now, not after the fiscal year's over.
Okay, 25-35.
So we have, I was hoping that the Board of Education was gonna close an additional, capital projects account to be able to fund this. This is the furniture for the, finance office move. The company is Discount Office Furniture, and the account, be a little bit over $20,000, which is a combination of cubicle furniture plus file storage.
So Michael, this transfer from unallocated capital, 59501, to an unnamed account.
Because we don't have, we've gotta create an account for it.
So, this one, let's talk about it in conjunction with 36, because isn't 36 the same thing?
Correct, unallocated.
So 36 is basically also office furniture, or?
36 is an oil tank.
Okay, that's the order, all right, so we'll leave that one. So the office furniture. Why are we using capital for office furniture in the middle of the year if it wasn't approved as a capital item? That's question one. Question two, I've been hearing rumors that the Board of Education is not keen on coming here anymore. Is that true?
These are things, first one I can answer is, it was a mid-year request from Sean to Scott. Can you accommodate, moving the Board of Education business office to the Board of Finance, or excuse me, the finance office here, because he was bringing back, a program that he wanted housed in high school. So that's how we got to this, that's how we got to this point.
So when Scott said yes to that, where did he plan on getting the money to do this?
Again, closing Board of Education capital projects, of which some were closed, but not as many as we had hoped.
But if that capital was approved for something specific, and they decide mid-year to do something that wasn't approved as a capital project, how does that happen without coming to the Board of Finance?
How would we know that the Board of Ed has never done that? We don't know.
We don't.
We have no idea what they do.
Doesn't mean that that makes it okay now.
Oh, I understand that, but I'm just saying, this is not a, we don't.
This is the one that's in front of us
I
right now.
got you, I got you.
And if there was other ones in front of us, I would ask the same question.
Right.
Is this spent already?
So typically, the Board of Ed would say, here's a give back for unallocated capital.
Yeah.
And then they would put a new request in for capital.
They did earlier this year,
So
just
we-
nowhere near what we thought it was going to be.
So the Board of Ed gave us a transfer to put more money into unallocated capital based on some approved capital in the past.
I was hoping to bring a closed project to you.
That's a yes or no, that's a yes or no answer, it's not a dissertation.
Yes or no answer.
Yes, did they give us a transfer to move?
This is not their requested transfer. We are setting up the office.
Well, you stated that Board of Ed had capital that they weren't gonna spend, so they were gonna use that money. My question was, did they give us a transfer to move that unspent capital money back into the capital account. Number one.
Not this specifically, no.
All right, then we can't do anything with it.
And to the other question too, I don't know if you can answer it now, Jason, you were able to answer the first one. The rumors going around that they are not inclined to come over here now. What's going on with that?
That's not what I've heard.
Okay.
I've heard nothing, that's what I've heard.
Sean?
Multiple places I've heard
So
from.
I
I'll
know-
talk to Sean.
I know there has been further turnover in their department.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Probably no people to move over here, yeah, sure.
Then they don't need furniture.
I think this, just for, again, this is not a straight out savings. If they don't move, I think it creates a minor problem for Sean in that the move of his Rise Academy into their space, is unable to occur.
There's other
So-
spaces over
Well,
there.
aren't they they're already there, aren't they?
I don't know what Rise is doing, where,
Well, why don't we table that and you have Sean come in? Let's have Sean here. Have him bring his business manager
We
with me
need,
too.
we need Sean and Scott.
Yeah.
One from one CEO to the other.
Okay. 25-36, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. Okay. 25-36.
I say we table this one until after the vote next week. Because this is capital that was supposed to be, that's on our appropriation for next year's budget.
Michael, just so you know, it's unallocated capital 59501 to an account to be determined for the new gas station down at, or the new gas tank, oil tank, creepers, at DPW in the amount of $74,212.
Thank you.
so, to try to address your question, Mark, I appreciate your, very frank discussion that yes, it is an appropriation that's set for next year, but we're running into a problem in that there's a window of opportunity to be able to remove the tank that's there, which the, bus company is trying to remove the existing tank this summer. The lead time on a tank is 12 weeks, so, and that was the last thing we heard from the vendor. So if we wait until July 1st, should we be lucky enough to pass a budget, we would be talking about a tank sometime in late September.
Is the bus company currently fueling their trucks in Enfield, not at this tank, at this depot?
Correct.
So why is it that urgent that we replace that tank if they have an alternate place to get fuel?
Well, what are we gonna, isn't this all part of the fact that we've been listening to the police station about their tank over there with a possible leak year after year after year? And they're gonna be moving to a new police station?
Correct.
So, we're gonna fill that tank up again?
It's not that it's leaking, it's the fact that we have to pay insurance to keep it going because of its age and they don't wanna pay the insurance. So by putting a new one above ground, it eliminates that potential environmental hazard,
Okay,
okay?
I get it.
And I'm all in for removing the tanks, by far, but I mean, we have a very important meeting coming up on Tuesday, and until that, I really don't wanna do in advance capital that was appropriated for next budget year. Because we may have to go back and start cleaning stuff up, and I don't know where that's gonna take us.
Well,
We have to remove the tanks anyway, so like, for example, let's just say there's a problem with the budget vote on the 3rd. I agree that the most conservative way of addressing the situation would be to delay this expense until you get the next budget. That's fine, I understand that thought process, it makes a lot of sense. But on the flip side of it is we're trying to make sure we get it done in a timely fashion. That's the only problem with
Yes,
it. I'm
that's
not
my
doing this
point.
to try to, like, I think you mentioned something as, that when you spoke with the Board of Finance, you were concerned that, hey, we're putting the cart before the horse, all those other fun stuff. But we want to make sure that we disclosed it there and we disclosed it here, that we've got a timing problem.
Well,
I didn't create the problem, it's just, that's the nature of trying to do this.
there's a question, do we really have a timing problem? Two things would create the timing problem. One, we have a tank that is known to leak and it's inox. Two is we've got a red tag from the state saying you cannot use these tanks. We don't have either of those, so the only thing that's driving this is it's something we'd like to get done. So there's nothing that's really driving us on,
Is it a cost avoidance? I mean, the reason why we're doing it now versus,
sooner or later it's gotta get done, we don't like tanks.
I agree, but we're trying to push it through right now.
So I don't think we should be starting this project while we have the buses located there. So for example, if we start tearing up pavement, tearing up the locations, redoing drainage, all that other fun stuff in September, right? That, you know, might cause a problem logistically with.
Well, that's my point,
bus
if they're currently fueling their buses in infield,
Aren't they parking in here?
yeah, there's nothing that says we cannot remove that tank when it's all said and done, starting next.
But again, this isn't the tank removal, this is making sure we can get the tank project completed over the summer, because if we don't, we run into the buses running back and forth across.
I don't think you're listening to what I'm saying. Okay, I'm saying if we don't do it this summer, there's nothing driving us for us. They're still fueling their tanks up in infield. If we approve everything, once it's approved budget, we can buy the tank, have it sitting there, so come next May, they can start working and you can get everything done. So it's just a postponement.
We can't, I can tell you, we can't, the tank has to be set in place. Like, you can't just sit it there or else you'd be paying a crane twice. So that's probably not the most,
Then we'll order it, make sure it's delivered in May. I mean, you haven't given me a very good substantial answer to tell me why we gotta do this right now. There's not a violation, there's not a deep violation, there's.
to get the project done over the summer, which is, you're saying it's not a logistical problem, it isn't a problem. This is, what I'm saying is this makes, what makes sense to me. I'm a finance guy, not an oil tank guy. If you would like to guide the project and say, hey, we're gonna do it next May, we'll go back to the vendor and we can do it there, but again.
We can't do anything unless we have the money, we don't have the money.
You
We don't have an approved budget.
No, that's not factual, Mark. You've got the money sitting in unallocated capital. It's sitting right on that screen.
No, we can't take unallocated capital for an item that's been approved under capital for this coming fiscal year.
Again, from my standpoint, the dollars are sitting there.
It's not your standpoint, Jason.
Yeah, all right.
You don't own that account.
I'm trying.
I hear what you say, you don't own the account, so don't tell us how to manage it and drive it.
Well, we don't own it either, taxpayers own it.
No, we manage it.
Well, I don't know, so, what was that money gonna be used for anyways, cause you're always wanting to dip into the reserve funds. What is that gonna be?
There's two pieces. There's $421,000 that sits right there right now.
Correct.
So we're talking about funding unallocated capital, it had unallocated capital plus interest left on the capital account. So the funds are, even if you take the funds are there.
I know we have money,
Yeah, all right.
but I mean, we've already approved it for a capital appropriation for 26. So we gotta have a very, very good answer why we wanna move it up a year and take unallocated capital for it.
I wouldn't say a year, I would say a month. Right? Rough.
Ask me on Tuesday.
But no, I mean, is your recommendation to instruct us or the board or the board of selectmen or the new public works director when they should implement the tank?
No, I say
My assumption would be they'd start spending on July 1st, if the goal is, hey, I wanna wait for a budget vote.
If we have an approved budget, then yes. But until we have an approved budget, I'm not willing to put anything out there. Because if it's disapproved, we're gonna start digging into the till, and then I don't know what that's gonna entail. And if we've already committed something, that means we've already taken that money and it's unobtainable to us. That's the only thing I'm saying. I'm ultimate conservative
It's
until next
ultra
week.
conservative, I understand.
That's all I'm being, because I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball.
So based upon this and the timing, you don't wanna see either of these come back until after the 3rd.
Correct.
Michael, you have any comments? Is he there? Hello?
Mike's there, but he's muted himself.
Well, he must be.
No, I'm here, I just didn't hear the question. What was it, Lori?
Do you have anything, did you hear what Mark was talking about?
Yeah,
Alright, well, do you have any concerns about that?
about waiting until after June 3rd to make a decision?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any concerns. if there's a need to make a decision before June third, then let's put it on the table. Let's talk about that now.
You haven't shown us really a reason why it had to be before, a compelling argument why it should be.
So what happens if we waited till, so let's just say the budget passes, let's just say the budget passes. On June 10th, are we all gonna have a problem with this?
No,
Are you gonna, is it gonna be a problem waiting until June 10th?
And is it gonna be a problem for me? No, the question is what does, you know, September first buses rolling, you know, how would it impact the timing of the fuel tank replacement
Well,
project?
can you-
That's my only concern.
Right, well, can you contact them and ask?
We've been given the lead time, and I can ask them the lead time.
well, the lead time's on the tank, but how about the lead time for doing the groundwork in the infrastructure? Which is question number 2. I know they can be done simultaneously.
I think the first step was to get the tank locked in, one. And then your electrical work and your, groundwork, you know,
The containment.
Are we saving a significant money using this contractor because we're not buying it from a third party, we're actually buying it from the source?
There
Is that-
is potentially some savings, and we are potentially avoiding markup from a third-party organization. Not that the third-party organizations are bad, but, you know, we presented as part of the capital project, $569,000 project, which we did not get approved. We got $200,000 approved. We sought a partner, and we think we have the partner. And as soon as
So
we
if-
get this tank purchased, we can, and if it comes in September, I can talk to them and say, hey, if it comes in September, what's the game plan? You know?
So the $200,000 that, if it gets approved for the gas tank, come referendum, okay? We're gonna subtract the 74,000 from the 200,000.
Correct.
Correct, okay. So we,
And my contention is you could do it now, from an ultra conservative standpoint, that capital, like if the budget fails, there might be different considerations that you might wanna allocate capital to different projects. So if you take the most conservative piece of things, all of a sudden you're working with limited dollars. I mean, none of these capital items hit the general fund budget, zero, zippo. But if for some reason you would make as a board to make a decision to take funds from the capital project fund and move them over to the operating budget, which has its own challenges with making a decision like that. It does give you flexibility, but that flexibility, should you choose to use it that way, would create a budget hole the next year, for you, that you'd have to fill. Which is why I would sort of argue on the flip side of it. There's an argue, just we're trying to decide, we're trying to keep project on budget. We've got lead time regarding this again, and then doubling back to the furniture. If we don't purchase the furniture, the board theoretically doesn't move. And, you know, you wanna speak to the other parties involved to make sure we're double, triple sure that they wanna move or don't wanna move. Again, those are items that are out of my control. But I do appreciate that, and on the eve of, or a week out from a budget vote, taking the most conservative method, from a budgetary standpoint, that is one way of approaching it.
all right, so let's just do it on the 10th.
Okay, but I do have another question pertaining to this. Do we have quotes for the rest of the work, so we've got everything lined up for the whole job, and how much is the bus company paying their portion of that job?
So we have worked closely with the bus company, and we continue the negotiations. Last time we sent him a draft of this, I have not sent him the updated overall cost. But as soon as we get to the bottom of that, I'm glad to share that with the Board of Finance.
I hate to throw $74,000 and then never come to a resolution with the bus company and have an oil tank just sitting there that we can't use.
Oh, what do you mean we can't use it? Wouldn't we be using it for the police
Yeah.
and public works?
It all has to do with the bus company.
Oh, well,
Dealing
I-
in the
yeah,
park.
well, I
If that
know.
deal falls through.
Yeah, but we don't have an oil tank at the new police station.
No, but we have one at the safety complex right now, we have. one
That
at
needs to be
DPW.
removed
Eventually.
eventually. everybody heard that eventually, because every year.
I would
you
love to
talk-
do it now.
you talk- well, because every year you talk about it.
I do.
So, yeah, so, I don't get it. Let's
So
get-
next summer, the game plan was to get 2 oil tanks out, right? And by the oil tanks we get out, one is on our nickel, which is the one at the public safety complex. The other one is the responsibility of the vendor, the bus vendor, and that's located at the public works outside of the 6-bay garage, the old garage by the animal control line.
But if they're removing it, why aren't they replacing it and buying the tank? That's where that's where it's hurting my head.
And the difference there is they were going to be putting smaller tanks there than the large tank they were recommending. The larger tank. And it's not what I'm recommending, it's Phil's last quote was this piece before he resigned.
Well, I can guarantee you, I will not vote for a gas tank at the new police station. No freaking way.
No, I'm with you, but what I'm saying is if they're only gonna buy a 6,000 gallon tank, okay, so we have the tanker come and fill it up once a week instead of every other week. What's the difference? Are we really using 6 gallons of gas a week in this town? I really don't think so.
With the police?
With the police, the fire, and the
Well,
buses.
I hate to say this, but those police cars are idling all freaking day at some freaking places.
But 6,000 gallons is a lot, I don't believe it, idling.
Well,
I'm just
so you
saying,
get
so
a better price when you buy in quantity?
we do. No, we don't. We have a contract with a fueling company, we have a set fee, no matter what we use, up to, I think it's 50,000 gallons.
All right, I wanna move on.
Yeah, and Mark, you are 100% correct that if you were just to size this, you're not sizing it based upon your current usage. You're sizing it based upon when the tanks that sit at Public Works right now time out. That was the design that Phil had, anyways, because he's had above ground tanks there since 2010, 2012, something like that.
Okay.
Double check your screen.
All right, so, the new Public Works Director and WPCA, from what I understand, they split the job back. There's gonna be a WPCA, and there's gonna be a Public Works Director. Thank God, okay. They had a meeting to discuss what we wanted to see in a Public Works Director, which has been completed. They have received 2 applications that I know of. Job's still not closed, could possibly be more. And Scott has put together an interview panel, which Windsor DPW guy said he would come up and help do that. So that's all I got on Public Works Director of WPCA. I covered it, right?
Yeah, the WPCA position, which was an internal posting, closes on next week.
Okay.
End of this week.
But right now, Tom Arnone is the interim,
Correct.
and we do not have an interim Public Works Director.
Correct.
Okay.
And
All right.
that position has been posted on the American Public Works Association website, CCM's website, and Indeed.
All right, under old business, I just had Scott, because I like to attach stuff to minutes, as you all know. So I just asked him to give us a brief thing of what are the updates. The debt policy, the Board of Selectmen have removed this item from its working agenda based on conversations with the bond advisors, bond counsel, and town attorney. The board believes that the proposed debt borrowing cap is too low based on the current debt bonding levels and the need for future capital expenditures, especially in connection with roadway and infrastructure. So,
Can I talk to Mike for a second?
yeah, I was gonna say Patty and Mike.
Mike, can you take?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you know that?
Did I know that? No, I'm reading this information on my email for the first time.
Because the bond advisors, bond counsel, and town attorney didn't say any of that to us when we developed that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that we spoke to our bond advisor and our bond counsel. They were both, intimately involved in helping us pull together the draft, the draft debt service policy. To be fair, I don't remember talking to the town attorney.
We did, we sent it to him.
Yeah, okay, I think Scott did send it to him, yes.
No, you and Mandy and I sent it to him,
Oh,
to make sure that he was okay with it, and he said, did you talk to bond counsel?
okay. Oh, that's right, yes, you're right, it was a few years ago, so yes, I agree.
So, I'm very surprised to hear that paragraph.
All right, well, we can read
Maybe he
it.
just didn't feel the need to tell us.
We'll revisit that.
Yeah,
Okay, roofing update. All funded projects have been completed. The flat roof at the town hall, together with the HVAC units, have not been funded, but will require further action. So the town hall, did we do the flat roof?
No, you talking about the roof over this
I
section?
know, but isn't it part of the budget? Did we talk about that for capital next year?
I don't remember talking about.
It's on the schedule, but not.
It's on the schedule. We moved it out a year?
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to get better numbers and how to get the
Yeah.
OCs.
So the radio system. The radio system configuration and design are in process, and the vendor coordination is taking place with the state communication engineer. A state bonding request of $500,000 is currently pending in the legislature, and the application for a FEMA firefighters grant has been made. Sullivan and Lashane, our lobbyist group, is shepherding the work through the state legislature. Future capital appropriations will be required to complete the entire project. So this is radio station for the police department, correct? Radio, and the whole town
The
thing,
whole town.
Townwide.
right, townwide,
Fire also.
right.
We would assume that the police department's side of things would be completed, along with the senior center stuff as part of the project. The hope would be that the grant from the state and or grant from the federal government, one of those two would be able to come through to be able to pick up the balance of the fire department. We hope that the ambulance association can pick up their piece of that, their radios, because they own the equipment, there. And that would leave, emergency management and, DPW and WPCA, with a balance of it, and you see a line item in the budget for $150,000 per year, hoping to complete the balance of the stuff within the capital projects, fund. And again, we'll continue to apply for grants or look for alternate sources of funding.
All right, just to expand on the gas station, because they wrote here, quotes for removal of the underground tank at the public safety complex are being received, and construction design and engineering is in process for the central fuel distribution system. You wanted to know that, Mark? Negotiations for contributions by the Board of Ed vendor are ongoing. Purchase is now required due to extensive lead time. All right, canal path. All right, this was having to do with paving, wasn't it? Have we talked about this before?
Yeah, this has to do with the resurfacing of the canal.
Right.
Which Suffield has the grant,
Right, and we were gonna do the
and we're
work.
gonna do a MOA with Suffield. But in conversations I had with Scott, he said that the state now wants to take care of one of the bridges. And it goes on the canal path, which is basically the Suffield water pollution where it comes into the river. So now they've added something to it, and it may throw it.
He says that the project is being reviewed by Deep,
Yep, that's it.
so we might as well just wait on that. Milton Reed Barn, engineering and design work is continuing in regards to the drainage system and exterior masonry. Much of the drainage work may be able to be completed by DPW. Exterior masonry will be contracted by a third-party vendor. So I drove by that place today, and the people that we have hired to do, I don't know, maybe Spring Street? What is it, B&W Landscaping and Paving?
Okay.
Don't they believe in parking in driveways and parking lots? Why are they parking on that grass? Every time people use that place as a construction drop zone, it turns into a hellhole. It's a hellhole up there. You gotta drive by there. There's crap everywhere. It's a mess. So that doesn't even have to do with the barn. How are we gonna do the barn when they got all their construction stuff up? And if you wanna look up people, in the newspaper, look up those people. I don't even know why we're using those people.
Lowest bidder.
lowest bidder, but they were fined multi-thousands of dollars for fixing, bidding.
Lori, you, again, I'll follow up with them in relation to the location of their.
If they could just stay on the paper.
There's
or
stockpiling
stone,
all this stuff on the
everywhere.
Boy Scout benches.
It's a crap hole.
I was there yesterday.
So anyways, back to the barn. How has the French drain and all that stuff been?
Sky, I know emailed, Krosky Architects as to, hey, what's the timeline? They did go through, I know he and Scott went through, the two projects that they're working on right now, which are a combination of them. Like they're historical architectural, like historical restoration, that's sort of like one of their specialties. So they're working both on the train station and, up in Node Reed. Right now, I would say that a significant amount of their resources are being spent down at the train station. There are meetings on a weekly basis because that's in sort of like the final throes for an August update. So we may see our Node and Reed project stuff not be the top priority for them. But I know he emailed out Mike Weisbrot, as I did, earlier today.
All right. Oh, let's see, Main Street revitalization. Discussions are pending with DECD and CONN, Connecticut DOT, regarding Chestnut Street properties and reconstruction of the roadway on Main Street in front of the new train station. Several grant agencies are involved in the project resolution. The Board of Selectmen and Planning Department are actively seeking a resolution and plan from the state to resolve all outstanding issues. Completion of the 2018 grant documentation is in the works, and we are currently in negotiations with Main Street construction project. The new train station is progressing with a completion date set for August 2025. Coordination of the maintenance issues between DPW and Connecticut DOT are in process. Exterior and interior contractors for the historical train station are actively engaged. Completion date for that is September 2025. Weekly meetings, you just talked about that. Outstanding grants. Refer to Finance Director, Department. So those are, if I remember correctly when we talked about this, these were, I know what these are. We haven't had any other outstanding grants, right?
No, we did get a positive, feedback from closing out our 2012 and 2015, LoSiP grants, which brought our balance that we have in our budget right now for available funds with the state, I wanna say $25,000.
Okay.
So that's the only thing to report back on that, so we have some additional grant balances there. A significant amount of those funds is budgeted to be able to complete the projects that are in next year's budget. And again, to reiterate, none of the capital projects that we have on the books right now have anything, like, none of it impacts the general fund budget or the taxation associated with that. Though I will acknowledge the sources of those funds, not that I would recommend transferring any funds from a capital projects fund to be able to fund our operating budget. It is an option that is available to you, so that gives you the maximum flexibility if there is a problem.
Yeah, that fixed your bond rate.
Well, I'm just saying, if we're being conservative, that's uber conservative.
All right, and then the debacle on the overpayment, so you guys he's still negotiating with the union to resolve that issue, okay. All right, and then your added agenda item, discuss the transfer for Node and Reed.
So Jason, I had a question raised to me about the HVAC and the heating in Node and Reed. And there was a mistake in the minutes back then. It said that Phil presented it, so I went back and listened to it. And it wasn't, it was Steve presented it and then you spoke to it. So I had to correct that. Phil wasn't even here for that.
Correct.
So my question is, we transferred $32,000 for this HVAC system. And it was spoken to mostly about electrical issues, which we've heard about for years in the building and stuff. It wasn't really, shame on us for not noticing, because it definitely said that in there, that it was a heating unit and a condenser. So that quote was $18,000 from SK Mechanical, I believe. And last I looked at iVision, it hadn't been paid yet. Do you know if that's been paid
Nope,
to this
it
point?
hasn't been paid. And I'll tell you why, is because we've gone back and forth with them as to whether they are complete.
And you told them to complete it, right? You told them be done.
Well, they have come out, they have looked at it, and then when Phil left, there was a problem with the electric. They had put in a new box, so we had to find out who the guy was, finally found him out, so he's all set, but he's not completed either.
Okay.
So, and he's not gonna come back until after August, September.
Okay, so that will be taken care of.
Yeah.
But that's like $18,000, I believe. This one says 15, oh yeah, 18,3. What's with the other $12,000?
It was the electrical to be able to hook that up. And again, I'll defer to Phil,
Both
who's
say
not
that.
here to be able to help that, but a portion of that was electrical and a portion of that was the HVAC. That there weren't the right number of circuits or the right amperage of the cable or something like that. So I know that additional wiring was pulled from the barn. I wanna say it was from the
It
barn,
was from the
not
barn.
from the house.
I did talk to the electrician, because when I said to him, he goes, "You're right there." I go, "Well, what does right there mean?" I go, "Can you finish the job for being right there?" He goes, "No, talking to you is costing money." So, I go, "All right," so then I looked at all the stuff there, I go, "Have we bought this stuff?" And he goes, "No," he said, "Phil did the job based on," what is it called? Time and material. Time and material.
Yep, that's,
So I said, all right, so how much it's gonna cost to finish? Cause all you have to do is put the backing on,
on the panel?
no, it's on, 2 plugs.
Help or Norm?
The backing on the 2 plugs.
Oh, just the plug covers?
Yeah, but there's, anyways, that, and he had to put an outlet inside the barn, or the garage part, and that wasn't done. So I said, well, then just stop, because we didn't know what to do. Cause Phil wasn't here, and I said, just stop. So I said, well, how much are we at? And he said, we're at 12,000. So we got $12,000, but we're still not done. And he said, well, do you want me to finish? I go, I don't want you to do anything more. 12,000 was it, we're all done.
And
So you're not gonna finish?
I don't know, the historical society pay for it, we'll figure it out.
So what are we gonna do
The permit
then?
was pulled for that, right? When you pull the permit, you gotta give an estimate of what that's gonna cost.
What is that? Who is that?
I don't know. Is your phone near it?
I wanna say it's that, and it's wrong right there.
Okay, so whether the historical department or the society pays for it or not is not the point though. Meaning they could, but we still got $20,000.
Oh, well, yeah, that I don't know, yeah, that,
There was 32,000 we transferred in there, and if he's saying 12,000 is it, you got 20,000 that's something we can use for something.
Well, 18 of it went to the SK, so you're at $50,000.
So I'll follow up.
Cause
on
the
your-
electrical guy is just gonna be 12.
Yes.
right.
And then
And he
18
hasn't charged anything yet.
He hasn't billed yet, has he?
We asked them for the bill last week.
Yeah.
They've been waiting to come back, and, you know, it's between the HVAC guy and the electrical guy as to where they left it, so they finished, they've been waiting to hear back from Phil's gone, so Lori asked me to touch base with the vendor to try to see where they were at from a financial standpoint. I said, hey, if you're at 12 grand, that's what we have allocated for this project, you know, stop, we can get some additional funds next year to be able to, you know, under the repair and maintenance budget and
You
those.
should be working with the foreman for Park and Rec in Phil's abstention.
You gotta go through Scott. Right,
Scott.
that's Scott's deals, the public works.
Exactly, but I mean, you wanna go to the people that are in the know. Who's in the know? The foreman.
Of course.
So you go to foreman or Park and Rec, he's the one that should be,
Who is that?
or Bill O'Brien.
Our foreman in the building maintenance side of things is,
Pete Lambert.
Pete Lambert.
Maybe he said
Pete's-
building and.
Pete's not back.
Is that building or is that Park and Rec?
Park
Parks,
and Rec is Bill.
Parks is Bill, so I don't know what's the, because no one reads the parks.
The building?
Yeah, but it,
But the grounds are Park and Rec.
yeah, grounds are
Building-
Park and Rec, building is
Right.
Pete. Unfortunately, I would love to give this to Pete,
Pete's
but
out.
unfortunately Pete's out. So that's why we're sort of poor substitutes and trying to move this stuff forward.
Yeah, so find out what it'll take to finish it,
Oh, okay.
cause you got a couple thousand left there.
Yeah, well, it's just me. I just was, cause now that guy's got all this crap parked there, but I will figure it out, Patty.
We can find out who the electrician is, but who pulled it from it.
I already did that, Norman. I was already on that. I had Jim Roach do that for me.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so, all right, public input. Here you go, Linda. Step up, sir, state your name.
Kevin Knapp, 6 West Street. I just wanna say when Jason goes to prison, he should come back and be a car salesman because he never answers a question directly for you guys. So it's quite comical that everything is defer, let me see, or just 7 minutes of talking so everybody forgets and doesn't care what he said. So, like, I've sat through plenty of these meetings, recently, and it's been a constant thing. You guys always ask the same questions over and over again, and there's no resolution to it. It just continues to the next meeting. So, how are we gonna decide as a town what the budget is if we don't know what we spent last year? It's kinda crazy. So if we're in a deficit $20 million when this audit is done, then what? Who's responsible then? Because in 2023, we were down 2.7 million overspend, and then the next year, we have no idea as a town, you have no idea as a board of finance, the only person that knows, or maybe knows, is him. Nobody else. And we're paying as a town for him and all his little cronies to do what? Say, I'll defer? I can do that. I'll do it for free for the town. I'll sit up here and play with the mouse and just say, I don't know. Like, that's comical. This guy's making over $100,000 a year and has multiple employees getting paid too. Why don't we start as a town with cutting him? Doesn't seem like he's doing much for us.
Any other public comment?
Kurt Brace, Elm Street. I know everybody's tired, and anxious to go home. Patty, I really appreciated your comments this evening. I think they're really on point, and I can see your dedication to try to protect the financial status of our town. What I wanted to say is that I have a question about the 5% raises for all non-union employees across the board. Forever, we've been talking about having performance-based raises. I see, there are honestly, there's people that deserve 8%. But there's definitely people that maybe deserve 2%. And I'll point out the Board of Finance, from the April 8th meeting, it was disclosed that tens of thousands of dollars were paid out accidentally in overtime, and that it was brought to the attention of the finance department. And I know Lori was particularly upset about that, and listening to the tape, I also was. Tens of thousands of dollars were paid out in overtime, and supposedly the people handling the payroll were telling finance that it existed, and they said it's weighted, it's an average, don't worry about it. Well, that's something that should have been caught, and it probably goes back more than 3 years. So I don't see us just giving this across the board 5% raise. I don't know what the union employees got, but it seems extensive. And are we going to apply that to the first selectman job? Scott's not coming back next year, so whoever steps into that job gets the 130 plus another 5. Listening to what's going on, I'm very nervous about this town's finances. And I think it's a horrible time to be asking people for more money when we're having such difficulty handling the money we have. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Online? Okay, board input? Anybody? Mike, you have anything?
Yeah, I have one comment, and that is, we received a forecast today from Jason via email, or maybe it's in your packets, I'm not sure.
No, we
But
didn't.
can we,
It isn't Mike.
We didn't get it.
what's that?
It isn't in the pack.
If you got it, Mike, you're the only one that got it.
Oh, okay, I apologize then, I'm sorry. So, I guess, so my comment was gonna be, at the next Board of Finance meeting, whenever that is, whether it's next week or the week after, can we have a discussion about the fiscal year 25 year-end forecast? That was gonna be my question. So I'm not sure when or if, there's gonna be a meeting that's gonna be needed next week. We don't know. But whenever the meeting is, can we just put this on, at the end of the meeting to just have a,
Only if we all get a copy of it to look at like you did.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
otherwise I don't want it on the agenda.
fair point.
All right, anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, so we're gonna call the meeting to,
Motion to
close.
adjourn.
Well, oh yeah, make a motion to adjourn.
Are you making it, Mark?
I did.
Mark makes a motion to adjourn.
She's adjourned.